So today I want to talk about stiff muscles because stiffness and tightness actually isn't something to be battled. Very often it isn't even a problem in the muscle, although it certainly feels like it. Sometimes what you're feeling is a glide problem. Your fascia, your connective tissue network that wraps, supports, connects everything in your body is literally designed to move and glide, to slide, to adapt. But when that glide slows down, everything starts to feel stiffer and stickier, like your body lost flow, that stiffness. And that can happen even when nothing's been torn or inflamed in an obvious way. Nothing looks dramatically wrong on a scan. You just know this: your shoulders feel hard to move, your neck feels thick, your breathing might feel tight around your ribs, your body feels like it's wearing itself. So today I want to help you understand the difference between glide and glue and why your body can start to feel sticky under stress, and how we begin restoring ease, not by forcing flexibility, but by giving the nervous system and the connective tissue a safer way to move so that it lets go of its grip. I'm Dr. Melanie Carlone. I'm a somatic physical therapist, a breath and nervous system educator, and I'm a yoga instructor. Had over 40 years of clinical experience. Gosh, it's incredible. And a master's and a doctorate in physical therapy. I'm like a little ridiculous for things. But my work has evolved to just be centered mostly around people living with pain, chronic pain, stiffness, fatigue they can't quite explain, inflammation that won't go away, basically nervous system dysregulation that most of traditional medicine doesn't really pay attention to. And what I mostly understand is that over and over again, the body is not broken, it's adapting, it's protecting. It's often asking just for a different conversation than the one that we give it in traditional medicine. So this episode is part of my Fascia Frontier Series. In the last episode, I talked about fascia as a living network, and today I want to go one step deeper because it isn't just a structure or a network. It's a moving, responsive relational system. And one of the most important things it does is glide. So let's begin there. Fascia is meant to slide. Think about like a water balloon with a water balloon inside of it. Can you picture that? And how they move layer over layer, muscle over muscle, tissue over tissue. Your body is not made of any rigid or isolated parts. It's made of relationships. When you lift your arm, your shoulder doesn't move alone. Your ribs respond. Your breath responds. It may be subtle enough that you don't feel it, but it absolutely has to happen. It's the fascia around all of these structures and combined movements that help distribute that motion. Allows one layer to move over another with like an organized ease. And when your system's healthy, movement really feels fluid. You reach without thinking. You turn without noticing, right? You breathe without effort. You bend and you recover and you get up, you just go on. But when glide is reduced, the whole body and your efforts start to feel different. Not necessarily injured, but less available to you. And we often peg that as saying, well, I'm just getting old. No, you're just falling into the restrictions that come with long-held habits. And that habit reduces availability, and that availability shows up as stiffness. And that's where people get confused, because we're often taught that stiffness means something's too short or tight or old or damaged, and we just need to lengthen it. But often that's not the whole story. Stiffness is a protective strategy. Sometimes it's the body increasing tone, the tensioning in muscle, because it no longer feels safe enough to be able to yield and to open up all the way. Sometimes it's a nervous system and a connective tissue response to a cumulative, what they call it, allostatic load that keeps building up in the body. And the load isn't just physical. It can be physical. Too much sitting, too much screen time, leaning forward, not much variation, doing the same thing day after day, and not enough recovery. Yes, it can be mechanical, but it's usually not. It's also often an emotional load, a mental or a cognitive load, an inflammatory load from what we're eating or how our gut is, a trauma load from the past carried right into the present moment, a load from disrupted sleep or too much pressure or hypervigilance or chronic doing, which is epidemic in our culture right now, or chronic bracing, waiting for the next thing to happen. That allostatic load creates wear and tear of carrying too much for too long. And when your system has carried too much for too long, it adapts to meet the load over and over, and your available movement gets smaller and smaller. Your breath narrows. Your shoulders may stay just a little bit lifted all day long, and you don't really notice. It starts to feel normal. Your jaw may just have a little bit of tension, your chest a little guarded. And what happens is the fascia begins organizing around that holding as a protection. And it's more about holding and protection after a while than it is about flow. And that doesn't mean the body's failing. It means it's participating in your survival the best way it knows how. And you're not broken. Your nervous system has been actively trying to protect you. So take a moment, just look inside and say, thank you. Thank you, I see you. And I'm going to learn more about how you work. And you send an incredible message. Because one of the ways that the nervous system in its primitive way has to protect you is just by tightening, toning up. And tone is not bad. It's support. It's like readiness. It's organization in the body. But if that support never goes away, it's always there, readiness that never gets to resolve, organization that becomes fixation, then the body starts to feel glued. Acellular fibers of fibrin and collagen come in, and tissue that should look like a layer cake now starts to look like a bird's nest. And it forgets how to move. And it can no longer trust movement in the same way it did. Because you start to move into the tense area, it pulls, and the old protector says, don't do that, something's wrong. So that's a really important distinction. Often, the issue is permission. Permission to soften the body, permission to yield, permission to move without anticipating threat. So how do we give the body that permission? Forcing a stretch is not usually the answer. If the body's already organizing around your protection, then pushing harder sometimes deepens the protective response. This is why you go to stretch and you feel worse later, or something gets strained because you push too hard, or you get a massage and afterwards you feel worse. Your system learns to brace against force. It contracts around the demand you're putting on it. And afterwards, you might feel looser for a minute, but not truly freer, because freedom doesn't come from override. It comes from regulating at the deepest level of the nervous system. Safety first, and change evolves. So when I talk about restoring glide, I'm not talking about dominating the tissue. I'm talking about changing the environment that your tissue lives in, your internal landscape. It includes your breath, the pace that you're going through life, your attention to things or lack of attention, your sense of choice or lack of choice, your visual field in the periphery or not, your expectations, who you think you are, your whole history basically makes up your autonomic state, that underground thrumming of how you live life, either working into fight or flight, freeze or fear, or rest and relax. And we're always going back and forth. All of it matters. Because fascia isn't just structural, it's actually sensory. That fascia is richly innervated. It has nerve endings and vascularity and lymphatics in it, and it's always participating in a feedback loop of how the body senses itself. It's actually the nerves within the fascia that are moving that let me close my eyes and touch my nose without poking myself in the eye or losing it. It's that feedback coming to say, oh, a little right, a little left, a little right, tip of the nose. So if the nervous system's on alert all the time, the fascia often reflects that alertness because it begins to tense. And if your nervous system can begin to settle and quiet, the fascia reflects that as well. Which means one of the fastest ways to influence your stiffness is not by force, it's by safety. Not collapse, not passivity or giving in, but actually really felt safety. Peace. And a body that feels safe enough will often begin to give you more glide. It's just what happens. So that's where I want to take you now. But before we try to change movement, let's tune into our internal state. So just let yourself sit in a way that feels supported. Doesn't need to be perfect posture. You don't have to be straight or rigid. Just enough that you can feel supported so you're in the center of gravity and your body doesn't have to work so hard. And now let your eyes slowly begin to travel around the room. And let them rest lightly on elements and objects. And notice everything you can about them. Don't move your head yet, just your eyes. And notice the color, the light, the contrast. Notice the shape. You just notice something ordinary, the edge of a table, the frame of a window, or a plant. Let your visual field just widen beyond it. So you're seeing the object and now see the things around the object. This is a really simple orienting practice. And for many nervous systems, orienting helps reduce a sense of internal pressure. Can you feel it? It reminds the body, oh, I'm here right now, not back there, not anticipating a future or bracing. I'm just here. So take your time and look around and notice if your jaw changes or your shoulders. Do they drop even 1%? Notice if your breath is a little less effortful. You don't have to make it happen. Just notice. Now, we're going to practice another down regulation of the nervous system. Let your hands come to the sides of your lower ribs, if that's comfortable for you. And just breathe into them. Take a gentle inhale, doesn't have to be really big, just a kind breath. And then exhale softly and slowly, twice as long as you inhaled. So pushing back against my back thumbs, breathing into the low back, and then long, slow exhale through the nose. Nose breathing calms the nervous system. Many people say you should inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. There's a lot of different ideas about that. Some of us can't breathe in and out through the nose easily, but just try. And let the exhale be like a release, not a performance, not something you're struggling to get to. Okay, one more time. Inhale into the low back ribs. Feel them expand, widen apart. And then exhale slowly, twice as long or so as you inhaled. And as you exhale, notice something. If there's often a tiny moment where nothing is efforting, nothing's pulling the air in or pushing out, there's just a small, tiny moment of no effort. And that moment can be incredibly informative. Many people who feel tight breathing are living with so much effort in their bodies that they've lost contact with that tiny place of release, that space between the in-breath and the out-breath. So explore it without forcing. So if you have a soft inhale and then you exhale a little more fully but comfortably, when the exhale finishes, don't clamp, don't hold, just release. And let the next inhale arrive on its own. Again, just easy inhale. And then a gentle, active exhale that you've brought your awareness to. And a release to. And you might notice the rebound breath comes a little more freely when you stop trying. And that's the point I want you to feel. Sometimes breathing actually gets easier not when we're working harder to inhale, but we allow a clearer exhale and then stop interfering. Exhale and release. release. It's not forceful breath work. It's not about intensity. It's a listening conversation with your nervous system. And sometimes the softening after the exhale just begins to reduce the holding in the throat and the jaw, the upper chest and the shoulders. So now let's bring that into movement. One of the things I love to teach about is the direction of ease. So often when something feels stiff or tight, we immediately move into the block direction and say, oh, I'm so stiff. We try to correct it. We push through it. We want to stretch the restriction. But the nervous system often learns better through the pathway that already feels possible. That's easy. When you don't have to fight the protector and you're listening to it, the nervous system can release its grip on tight muscles. So today I want to work with the shoulders because the shoulders carry so much history and effort and bracing. These are our ways of doing in the world, holding it together. They also respond beautifully to small, slow, very safe inputs. So let your arms rest, maybe in your lap or at your side if you're lying down on your tummy. And just let the shoulders be as they are. And we're going to do a 3-direction shoulder lift. First, just slowly lift both shoulders straight up towards your ears. As high as feels easy, but I want you to feel them at the end. You feel them. Keep breathing in the low back ribs, and then slowly let them down. And let go all the way. And then again, lift straight up. Breathing, calmness in the body, low back ribs. And then slowly let them down. And just notice that. Not whether it's good or bad, or just notice, what does it feel like? And now shift the pathway a little bit. You're going to roll your shoulders forward. If you have a red light reflex in the body, you're chronically held this way. This is very beneficial. Roll the shoulders forward and now go up, as if they're gliding up on a slight diagonal in front of you. Breathing in the low back, and then let them drop slowly and release. And just notice, especially notice at the end when you let go. Notice if you want to take a deep breath, that's part of the nervous system calming down. And again, roll them forward and slowly bring them up. This is a great exercise to do at a red light when you want to let your shoulders down, or in between Zoom meetings. So we did the center, we did forward. Now we're going to try the 3rd direction, and we're going to lift the shoulders slightly back and up. Unforced but clear. And then let them lower. Let them go down slowly. Don't just drop them. Breathing in the low back and backing up again. Squeeze and lift. And then slowly, consciously let them go. So we've explored 3 different shoulder pathways. Straight up, forward and up, back and up. And just tune into yourself now, that inner landscape of the body, and notice your shoulders. How did it feel when you were doing it? Was one easier? Was one least defended? Which one felt like the body was already there? So it wasn't very dramatic. It was just easy. And that easier direction is where we're going to begin. So choose that direction. Was it easier this way, forward, or back? So for me, it's easier in the back. And I'm going to do it again. 20 to 50% of my effort, but I'm going to go small and slow. Breathing in the low back ribs. Let my shoulders really lift in that easy pathway. And then on the lowering, it's going to be a long, gentle exhale. So I'm going slower than I did the first time. And at the bottom of the exhale, really let go. And let the body just receive your next breath. And again, just breathing. And now again, find your direction and lift one more time. Just notice, is it easy? Does one go up more than the other? What's it feel like at the end? Breathing in the low back, and then very slowly let go. No forcing. It's no perfection. You're not trying to make something happen. You're just giving your nervous system network a series of repeated experiences of ease. So one more time. And notice, what does my neck do? What's my belly doing? What are my ribs feeling like? And then let go slowly, slowly, and just notice. When you totally let go, listen. Easy lift, exhale, lower. And the shoulders are resting now. Now recheck the 3 directions that you just did. So you go straight up. Wow, it's so much easier. You go forward and up. That was my stiffest one. It's a little tight on the left, but smoother. How about you? Does any feel different now? Squeeze it back, a little smoother. A little quieter, a little less effort. So we've done about 5 in each direction with this. And that shift that you may notice when you stop, even if it's small, actually matters. The lowered tone is your body learning through experience. And small inputs can change the overall picture a lot. So that's one of the places where fascia and the nervous system functionally overlap so beautifully. Because the body doesn't always need more intensity. It often just needs more clarity, more pacing, more like you're showing up to listen, like your older self's there for the younger one going, it's cool, you did good. We're all kind of relearning or have the option to relearn how to reparent ourselves. And this is the way to do it in the body somatically. More successful repetitions don't trigger defenses. They start to soften the defenses and the resistance. When you move in the direction of ease, you're not avoiding the problem. You're building trust in the system. You're saying, I'm willing to meet you where you're at. I'm not going to force you. I'm going to help you remember motion feels possible. And that really matters for people, especially people living with chronic pain and persistent stiffness and inflammation. Have a trauma history. Because if your body's been living in a more defended state over and over again, stillness doesn't always feel restful. You feel like you have to keep moving. You ever get that? Otherwise it's painful. And often in those cases, stretching is not helpful. The stronger effort may not even create change. It may make it worse. So sometimes what creates change is a small, compassionate movement that the body can receive. A slow shrug, soft exhale into the low back ribs, gentle orientation, and then listening for the echoes in the body. There's reductions. They might be small, but reductions in unneeded effort. And that's how regulation begins to become movement again. And movement becomes freedom back in your joints and your muscles. So I want to name something important. You may do a practice like this and feel immediate change, and that's fabulous. Or you may do a practice like this and feel almost nothing dramatic. And that's also okay. There's reasons for that. The point is not to chase a result. The point is to create a more skillful relationship within your body, an attunement. I see you, body. I'm with you. A relationship based in listening instead of overriding your body's signals. A relationship of curiosity instead of correction. Compassion instead of shame. Over time, that changes things. Because fascia really responds to repetition. And the nervous system responds to repetition. And your sense of your body responds to repetition. It starts to get more familiar. And the more often you give your system experiences of non-threatening movement, the more likely it becomes that ease starts to generalize. It starts to be the new normal. So you may notice your breathing changes when you're at your desk. You may notice that your shoulders don't climb as quickly under stress driving. Or you may notice you can pause before bracing when you get home to a noisy household or whatever. You may notice that what once felt glued begins to feel more available, not because you mastered perfection, but because your body started to trust your process. And that's a really different kind of healing. It's not mechanical, it's regulatory. And so for so many people, that's the missing piece. So right around here, I'd love for you to check in. Check in with yourself. What did you notice? Was there one direction that felt really easy? Did your breath get quieter now and your shoulders soften? Did the drop after the exhale teach you something in the listening about effort? So if something shifted, even subtly, let me know in the comments. I love hearing what your body notices. And if this kind of gentle nervous system informed movement speaks to you, please subscribe so you can stay with me through the rest of the series, and also so I can keep putting this content out, because I really want to build something here. Not just flexibility, not just information, but a different way of being in somatically and relating to the body. So let's bring it home, right? Your body is not a collection of isolated parts. It's a connected, sensing, adaptive network. And that network thrives when it's gliding and flowing. When your fascia is really gliding well, movement feels lighter, breath has more room, your posture reorganizes to gravity more naturally. You don't have to hold yourself up so hard. You don't have to work so hard for every movement. But if your system's been under prolonged stress, it may start to be organizing around glue instead of glide. And that's when you feel stuck. And again, it doesn't mean your body is failing. It means your body's protecting you. And protection is really intelligent. The invitation is not to shame the protection, not to meet it with force. It's to meet it with better information, a better welcome, a softer exhale, a released return, a smaller movement, orienting, a slower pace, and doing it consciously. Because these small things are not insignificant. It's how the body, which is kind of like an injured small animal, how it starts to trust you again. So next time you feel stiff, instead of asking, what do I need to force here? What do I need to open up? Try asking, what would help me to feel safe enough to glide again? And that question can change everything. Because when the body feels safe enough, it often stops gripping so hard. And when it stops gripping so hard, movement returns, breath returns, possibility returns. Not all at once, maybe, but not through willpower, through relationship. Your body makes sense. Even your stiffness makes sense. So when we understand that, we stop fighting within ourselves. That's step 1 and 2 and 3. We have to start listening. So if this practice helped you even in a small way, like this video, subscribe, share in the comments what you noticed. I'd especially love to hear which shoulder direction gave you the most ease, and what do you do in the world that might be causing that? In the next episode, we're going to explore another fascinating piece of the conversation, how fascia is not only structural, but sensory, and how that sensory bit changes the way we can understand pain. So until next time, remember, you are not broken. You have a very wise protector. You just have to learn how to talk to him. See you later, you guys.